Hi friends. Wanted to do a quick video on in terms of understanding, or let's say, how do you want to utilize order flow information and volume profile information to trade the gap ups, gap downs. We have seen a lot of recent gap ups and gap downs, and how do we sort of best utilize that information? Okay, so first the context, we'll look at today's chart essentially. So we had a pretty significant gap down, right? And so one of the things we said earlier is, these levels are potentially support levels, because we had previous confluences here. So we were wary of not, let's say, going short immediately, but do you go long or not, or do you look for a sudden inflection to short, is what we sort of wait for. So what we would want is not short right away on the gap down and get trapped, but sort of look for a pull back up, and then from there look for a short side play, right? Okay. And if you look at the volume profile charts, we as I said, we had previous profile edges here: 31 200, 31 800 areas, sorry, 31 800 areas. And these areas are potential sort of, we're supposed to be potential support zones, these areas. Okay. Just a second, my bad. I mean, if you look at this marker we had, right, these areas are supposed to be potential support zones, and we are expecting some sort of a pullback from here. Now, ideal place to short would be if we sort of test somewhere around this region to this region, right? I mean, which happened eventually because this was low and this was previous highs, and then this was the lows of the last session, sort of thing, right? So that would be the ideal reason to. Now, how do we sort of look at it at a more, order flow context, and see if there is more information available for us to take a decision, right? That's the core objective. Now this is the 15-minute order flow charts from Bank Nifty today, if you see. So this was the opening gap down candle, right? The first crucial information that I always find important is, if you look at a normal candle, right, you would never know if price traded here. You just have a total volume and all that, right? Nothing else. So we just have a spike, but we do not know what is the relevant price point for or not. So if somebody is trading the opening range, he is looking at an opening range of this many points, right? We are not looking at that sort of an information here. We When we look at order flow, we sort of we have a very precise opening range to deal with now, instead of such large range. Now I know this is the only relevant range that is important to me if I'm looking at the opening range. That's the first advantage, right? Second is, with the gap down, despite that, I do have what do I have here? I have a positive delta coming in the market. So we see the candle has a pretty fairly positive delta and a positive close, right? So the first intent here is not to definitely short again. That's an additional confirmation if you see. Now a scalp trader can actually look to go long, as I said, and sort of look to test these regions. But if not, that's fine. If not, that's completely fine. If you're not scalping at that speed, if you're somebody who is waiting for zones to come, that's also fairly decent trade thesis. So ideally, most ideal scenario would be to sort of exactly test around these levels, but exact things don't happen in the market most often. So which is fine. Let's say now I want to trade a pullback. Where do I get my signals from? So first is, if you see this candle has a 75k positive delta, and then you look at the immediate next candle, it drops to 10k only. So we definitely see a weakening of sort of buyers at this candle, right? That's an initial confirmation, and which is very close to these levels. So one, I could start initiating some shots at the close of this candle or towards the low of this candles, but I'm still not confirmed. Let's say we're not sure whether that is happening or not, or we would look for a break off below these candles to hold essentially. Okay. Then we have this significant candle here, which is around 30k of delta. So that gives a fairly good confirmation that now price is sort of, one, we have engulfed this candle, which was the big delta candle, completely. And then we also have a good negative delta. So that's your sort of confirmation that you can further add up shots. So your first tranche of shots are here, second tranche of shots could get in here, right? And then And then we had this decent fall from here, if you say so. So we had this decent fall. Now, ideally, in ideal scenario, I would expect sort of, once you've really broken below these levels, again, see which levels act as a support here, right? Why didn't you go to the low? This if you see this level, this was the opening volume low, right, where some volume got traded. And if you see after that, none of the candles really failed to close below. Fine, we have a reference again. But ideally, once we have tested below, your expectation would be to see a continuation, right? So nobody, very rarely, would sort of, if I say that I have shorted the highs, and closed the lows, that's not the right statement to make. So ideally, yes, some you would definitely look to book some of your gains there. But then, do I have warning signals that market can reverse? Yes, there are two warning signals. One, if you see, uh, you know if you see, there was pretty good volumes traded, good delta traded, 65k delta, right? And we had two places where they had good buyer seller interaction. This one 43k 73, and this one is heavy sellers 47k and no buyer. So this is a very good reference. Now if you see subsequently next candle and this candle, we are not able to take these levels out, we are not able to take these two levels out. What happens is, instead, this has a pretty fairly good positive delta 59k. So that's your clue that market probably has sort of bottomed here and might look to reverse. So if you are still with the shots, I would like, we'd close the shots here. And if there's again an aggressive trader on, you can look for a long play above these regions or long above the view of regions for push back to the sort of the highs of the day. And that's about it. So couple of key takeaways, as I said, and I'll just quickly repeat for all you guys. Number one is, we with order flow, we know there's a context available that the tradable range is just this and not this entire candle range. So this becomes your reference. Number two, you have your positive delta, which sort of gives you a sign that, okay, good positive candle, but also delta is positive, so some more up move is possible. And let's not short right away. And this is something we mentioned in the telegram group as well. Don't jump to short in the open. You'll get an opportunity, look for a pullback to play your shots. Okay. And then number three, when to take those shots, when you have these delta weakening and then a negative delta coming in these places. And number four, when to sort of book your shots also, right? I mean, you have to find a decent point to book your shots. These are the key takeaways and sort of thought process of how I was approaching the markets today. And I did take the scalps as well. So this one was a good one, and this one I sort of, I did do well, but I sort of yeah. So it was good actually, but I did not run it through with a good size, so it was just a decent shot, no long trade here. But yes, thank you. I hope this information was helpful for all you guys. Thank you so much.